All right, today we're jumping into the world of the Chief Information Security Officer, the CISO. This is a role that has totally exploded. It's not just some tech job tucked away in the IT department anymore. Nope. These days, the CISO is on the front lines of business strategy. And believe me, when things go wrong, they can go catastrophically wrong. And you know what? I want to start with a failure, a really big one. Take a look at this quote. This came straight from an employee inside a company that got hit by a massive supply chain attack. And here's the crazy part. It wasn't some super sophisticated hack or a secret zero-day exploit. It was a simple, totally preventable breakdown of the most basic rules.
So you gotta ask, right? How does a single phone call cripple an entire company? Seriously. And maybe more importantly, who's supposed to stop it? Whose job is it to make sure this kind of thing just doesn't happen? Well, that's supposed to be the CISO.
Okay, let's get into it. We're going to break down exactly how this happened, and I'm telling you, the simplicity of it is going to shock you. So here's the playbook. It's almost unbelievably simple. The attackers, this group called Scattered Spider, they just call the outsourced IT help desk. They pretend to be an employee and ask for a password and MFA reset. And the help desk, they just do it. No identity verification, nothing. They just hand over the keys. And once the attackers have legit credentials, well, they don't need to hack their way in. They can just walk right through the front door and take over everything. And get this, to figure out how bad the problem was, investigators pulled the first 4 call recordings they could find. And in all 4 of them, every single one, the help desk failed to follow the rules. This wasn't just one person making a mistake. This was a total systemic breakdown, a 100% failure rate. They were basically handing out the keys to the kingdom to anyone who called and asked nicely. And that right there is a perfect example of why this CISO role has had to change so much. See, this isn't just a tech problem. It's a business problem. It's a strategic risk problem. And that demands a completely different kind of leader. Think about it like this. The traditional CISO was kind of like a cyber cop, a technical expert for sure, but they were stuck in the IT silo, mostly just reacting to problems after they happened. But today's world, it demands a transformational CISO. This person is a business leader first and a security expert second. They're thinking about managing strategic risk, they're working with the entire C-suite, and they're building security into the company's goals from the get-go. They're not just putting out fires, they're fireproofing the building. But here's the reality check. This is where we actually are today. A recent report broke down CISOs into a few types, and it shows we've still got a long way to go. Look at this. Only about 28% are truly strategic leaders, the kind who have real influence with all the other executives. A full half of them are functional, which means they might have a voice with the tech team or the business team, but not both. Their influence is limited. And then you've got the last 22% who are still tactical, seen more as tech experts than as actual business leaders. So this all leads to a really crucial point, which is not every company needs the same kind of CISO. It's not one size fits all. Finding the right security leader is all about figuring out where your company is on its own security journey. And a great way to think about this is to imagine it's like climbing a mountain. Let's call it Mount Securest. Every company, and I mean every single one, is at a different spot on this climb. Some are just starting at the bottom, others are way up near the top. So down at base camp, you're just focused on the fundamentals. Getting your basic defenses up, making sure you're following the rules, trying to stop the bad guys from getting in. Then you get to high camp. Here, it's all about building a security-aware culture, getting everyone in the company on the same page. And then, the summit. This is the goal. This is where security isn't a roadblock. It's actually part of your business strategy, helping you innovate safely. And just like you'd hire a different guide for different parts of a mountain, you need a different CISO for different stages of the business. You can think of them as archetypes, right? You've got your post-breach CISO. This is the person you call in a crisis to clean up a mess. Then there's the compliance guru, who knows all the complex regulations inside and out. Each one is a specialist. The whole game is about matching the right guide to the part of the mountain you're on. But let's be real. What if you're a startup? You probably can't afford a full-time CISO with a massive salary. Or what if you just need a specific expert for a few months? Well, that's where a newer, much more flexible model comes into play. It's called CISO-as-a-Service, or you might hear it called a virtual CISO. The idea is actually pretty simple. Instead of going through the whole process of hiring a full-time executive, you basically rent one. You partner with a provider and get access to top-level security leadership when you need it, for as long as you need it. All the expertise, none of the full-time overhead. And when you look at the comparison, it's pretty compelling. A traditional full-time CISO, super expensive, and finding the right one can take months. With a virtual CISO, it's way more cost-effective. You're just paying for the time and services you actually use. And here's a big one. Instead of just one person's brain, you often tap into the collective knowledge of an entire team of experts. That's huge.
But is every on-demand CISO the same? Nope, not at all. The term virtual CISO actually covers a few different types of roles, and picking the right one is absolutely critical.
So let's break this down. First, you have the fractional CISO. Think of this as your long-term part-time strategic partner. It's perfect for a company that needs that high-level guidance but just doesn't need someone for 40 hours a week. Then there's the interim CISO. This is a full-time but temporary leader. Your CISO just quit, you bring in an interim to keep things running smoothly while you find a permanent replacement. And finally, the temporary CISO. This is your project specialist. You bring them in for a specific short-term mission, like getting ready for an audit. Okay, so let's tie this all together. You've got all these different options. How do you possibly figure out which guide is the right one for your company's trip up Mount Securest? Let's get really practical here. If your company is on fire after a sudden breach, you need an interim CISO to parachute in and take command right now. If you're a startup just building your security program from scratch, a fractional CISO gives you that long-term guidance without the crazy cost. Getting ready for a big specific audit like a SOC 2, you bring in a temporary CISO who lives and breathes that stuff. See, it really is all about matching the right solution to your specific problem. And I want to leave you with this one last thought from Forrester analyst Jeff Pullard. It just perfectly sums up this whole transformation. He says the best CISOs need to get rid of the stuff they don't really need to do. He says you'll feel like you're losing valuable stuff, but it sets you free. And that's the whole point, isn't it? The future of security leadership isn't about doing more work, it's about doing the right work. It's about having the courage to, in a way, fire yourself from the day-to-day grind so you can become the strategic leader your business actually needs to win.